The number one source of friction in your engine is not what you think. Piston rings rubbing against the cylinder walls generate more friction than any other part of the engine. More friction and temperature means more wear and less horsepower. Fortunately, the team at Total Seal knows how to reduce friction and wear through innovative piston ring design. If it takes a piston, Total Seal can build a better ring.
For more than a decade, FTI has strived to become the leader in the aftermarket performance transmission and converter industry. We've joined forces with McLeod Driveline Components under the leadership of Top Fuel Funny Car pilot Paul Lee, and now have a larger distribution network, more resources, and more power. Come see us in the pits and ask how you can join the FTI family. It's not cheating, it is the competitive edge.
This is WFO Radio.
Hey everybody, WFO Radio is back as we get ready for the NHRA Arizona Nationals. I'm Joe Castello, and we have got a great show for you. That's right, Tony Schumacher going to join the voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhart, and myself for a little pre-Lucas Oil Winter Nationals Top Fuel Final Round hype. It is so rare that we get to spend a couple of weeks thinking about the final rounds and what might happen and who versus whom and how do they stack up and how do they match up and who they are and their personal, rivalry. Is there any conflict? Is there any extra story? Is it just two racers going out there to try to win a Wally? And we have got that in 3 Mission Foods Series categories. Of course, Top Fuel, Tony Schumacher versus Justin Ashley. Justin, who got it done. He's like the defending race winner. Won Mission Foods Too Fast, Too Tasty. And now Tony Schumacher is a 5-time winner out there at Firebird Motorsports Park. How interesting is that? We're going to talk to Tony Schumacher all about it. Just minutes from now, he'll be joining us. We ask you to share the show. Repost on X. Going big for us lately. Those folks out there on X, they see we're live. They come on. They learn about NHRA Mission Foods Drag Racing. They learn what a cool character Alan Reinhart is. We ask you to share and repost wherever you are, especially on YouTube. Subscribe, click the bell, leave a comment, all that. I'll hit you with all that stuff later on in the show, definitely. I'm also thinking about, Funny Car, Matt Hagan and John Force. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Of course, the Arizona Nationals, very big deal, going back to Firebird, formerly Wild Horse Pass, prior to formerly Firebird International. But this is a huge deal. We're going to get into it on the show today. It's a huge deal because this is a good news story. Everybody always focuses on the bad news stories, like we're losing a track or we lost a track or a track is gone and it's sad and all that. Well, hopefully, and it is my mission, that everyone that watches and listens to this show, either on our Apple Podcast, Spotify, SoundCloud, wherever you get your podcasts, or on YouTube, or you're watching the show on Facebook, or wherever you're watching the show, you come away knowing and feeling like this is a positive story, and you want to share it. You want to push out the positive news that we saved a track. We're back there. We're going to be back. They've invested. This community is not without their NHRA Mission Foods National event, not without their local drag strip, which is just super exciting. We did something, and we should feel happy about it. And the local community, and Reinhardt's going to tell us a little bit about some of those players, the local community stepped into the breach, and they made some moves, and they responded to the event we had there a year ago. We've got to celebrate it. We've got to celebrate victories. And when is the best time to celebrate those victories? Like, when would be a good time to get together and celebrate a victory like that? I don't know. Maybe at the track this weekend. How far away are you? Is it 200 miles? Is it 500 miles? Plan to drive on down or up or wherever you're from and get out there and be a part of this, because it's going to be a great celebration of something positive in the world of drag racing. Plus, you might see John Force win a national event or two. You might see Matt Hagan, the ring champ, win a national event or two. And then in Pro Stock, you've got Erica Enders and Dallas Glenn, Double O Dallas. He's got this great rep, Dallas Glenn, in Pro Stock, but he is a decided underdog to Erica Enders. Oh, yes, I have the odds. Head-to-head odds. The folks at Caesars have created special head-to-head odds for the final rounds of the rain-postponed Lucas Oil Winter Nationals. We're going to get into all that stuff. We're going to bring on Reinhart, but I've got to tell you about the people who make it possible for this guy to chase his personal dream and go WFO a couple of times a week here on our show. I'm talking about CWT Industries. These are balance machines for machine shops. Balance machines. If it rotates, it can be balanced. A turbocharger can be balanced, and a supercharger can be balanced. And of course, your rotating assembly on your racing engine can be balanced. But I'm talking to the machine shop workers and owners. If you have an old school legacy machine that still works and you haven't updated it because, it gets the job done, it's time to start thinking about updating, because these new machines do so much more with the use of a touchscreen, and they're intuitive and they work faster and they do it better. Think about it. CWTindustries.com. Go to the website, find out more. You can always email me, Joe at WFOradio.com. The folks at Foggit, FOGGIT.com, available at Summit, available at Amazon, available at Foggit.com. One of the easiest and most affordable ways of supporting WFO radio, but also protecting a very expensive investment, your high-performance racing engine. Think about it. How much are you spending? How much time goes in to cylinder surface, making it round, making it perfect, getting that hone absolutely correct, protecting those total seal piston rings? And then after a day of racing, you're going to park it in the trailer. There's going to be condensation that's going to mix with sulfur. It's going to become sulfuric acid and damage that stuff that we just talked about. What is it? It's cheap insurance. It's an ounce of prevention. It's all of those things. Go to Foggit.com to find out more information. The folks at Bernie Speed Shop on board with WFO Radio, BURNYZZ.com. This is Josh Hart's company. It started off with Josh going door to door, asking if he could detail people's cars. And they have grown it into 100,000 square feet in Ocala, Florida. They do everything, but they specialize in, selling classic exotics, classic muscle cars. Their showroom was amazing, whether it be a late 70s Corvette to a Tri-5 Chevrolet. They've got them all. So if you're thinking, I'm to the point in my life where I want to have myself a special ride, go to Bernie's. Or maybe you're thinking to yourself, I've got a special ride, and I don't just want to put it out there in the grassy knoll near my house with a for sale sign on it. I want someone who's going to sell it to the people who want it and knows who those people are. That's Josh. That's Bernie's. Go to bernies.com to find out more information. BURNYZZ.com. Bernie's Speed Shop. We already told you a little bit about FTI performance transmissions and torque converters. We already told you a little bit about Total Seal. We'll tell you more about them because they're sponsoring the big Congruity HR Pro Modified presented by Learn EV Plus Challenge. That's right, Pro Mod out there in Arizona. It's going to be awesome. We'll tell you about Total Seal. And of course, there's the folks at Phillips-Connect.com, smart trailer technology for you people in the transportation industry. Later on in the show, we'll tell you a little bit about Sam Tech. We'll tell you about Frank Hawley's. And of course, we'll tell you about my main man, Marvin Rodak, down there in Fort Worth, Texas. But right now, let's bring on the voice of the NHRA, who is not in his home base. He is somewhere out there around the world, Alan Reinhart. What's up, Alan?
Hey, Joe. Enjoying life. What's that?
And you should. And you should, sir. You should enjoy your life because, you never know when it's just going to be over.
Oh, well, that's cheerful. Thank you.
Is that supposed to be? It's supposed to be uplifting and positive. Enjoy your life, Reinhart.
Yeah, because it might be over any minute.
Any second. Who knows? You could be on the other end of a meteor. But where are you? Everybody wants to know where you are. And you're from Tucson, Arizona. And you guys have a great drag strip. I have been there one time.
Well,
and
I was hoping for a little ambiance today.
Nice.
Because there's some pro mod teams that are here and some pro stock teams that I understand are going to come by and do a little testing before they go to Phoenix. But apparently they're not going to start until noon. It's been cold and wet here the last couple of days. And today's going to be a great day, but it's a little chilly. So I think they're waiting for it to warm up a little bit. So I was hoping we're going to have some background ambience, but apparently, nope, just get me.
You're so lucky that you have, and I know you know that, but that you have that track, Tucson, a nice, I don't want to say nice enough, but what are we comparing it to? What you just showed me, I'd kill to have a track like that within 2 hours of my house. My goodness, that place, it's quarter mile, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got a quarter mile drag strip, man. That's incredible.
I grew up with a drag strip. When I got my license, borrowed mom's car and went to the drag strip just a couple of days after I turned 16 because we didn't have a junior dragster league back then. And then I didn't have a drag strip. The old Tucson Dragway closed in 1985, and there was about 15 years where Phoenix was the best we had, and 2 hours away or a little more than 100 miles. So for a, hey, Friday night, we're not doing anything. Let's go out and, make a couple of hits at the local racetrack. Really wasn't an option for a long time, and very fortunate to have one back. It's a beautiful facility. Jim Hughes, who is a world championship racer in the Lucas Series and a guy who knows Jim's been to enough racetracks that he understands what racers want and what they need. So he's running the place, and he wanted to make it a very racer-friendly atmosphere, and that's what it is. And the facility itself, when it was built basically to national event standards with the hopes that someday there might be one here. So while, it would need to have some more grandstands and some more things like that in order to host a national event, but the racetrack is, I believe it's concrete to 700 feet. We've got Musco lights. We've got CompuLink timing. We've got, concrete walls all the way to the sand. We've got everything you would need from a racetrack standpoint to hold a national event. And that's one of the reasons that I think a lot of teams like to come here and test. There's not a lot of places that correlate really with Vegas or with Phoenix. When you're in the desert, you're dealing with the dry air, you're dealing with a little bit of altitude. Tucson does. So that's why there's a number of teams that'll come here from time to time to do a little testing before Phoenix or before Vegas. And that's going to be the case this week.
Especially Pro Mod, that, being out there the first time. We're going to talk all about it, but I see the champ down there, the 8-time champ, the winningest top fuel racer of all time, Tony Schumacher, who's got a shot to bring home, a bunch of hardware this weekend out there at Firebird Motorsports Park. Let's bring him on the show. Mr. Tony Schumacher joins us now. What's up, Tony? How are you?
Good. I was just listening in, and I've tested up there in Tucson. It's a really cool track. I enjoyed it. Look forward to ever going back there,
Yeah.
Well, it's not too late, Tony. If you want to come down tomorrow or Thursday and make a couple of hits before you go run the Phoenix event, come on down. I know people. I can get you in.
I am recuperating. I flew down. So Mike Green's been my crew chief for two championships, and a friend of his that I met along the way, Ryan Cheney, he booked his wedding the Wednesday after Pomona. So we flew to Hawaii, and we were in Maui. And we got home yesterday morning at 6:00, which is like midnight there, and I'm just jacked up, So it was awesome. But I think I'm going to recoup for a few days because we do have quite an epic weekend coming up.
Yeah, you do. And I want to mention, you're going to be somewhere. For all the WFO radio listeners, it's great that you check out the show, and we want you to go to the event because that's really what it's all about. But these events around the event featuring drivers are always cool. Thursday, April 4th, so this Thursday from 4 to 5:30, where are you going to be, Tony? A cigar bar, the Puro Cigar Bar in Chandler. How cool is that? That's right up your alley, and you're going to do bottle signings of Leatherwood. How cool.
It's super cool because I've been there every year, and it's actually a very nice cigar bar. Great, whiskey wall, got all kinds of cognacs and whiskeys and bourbons, and Leatherwood's going to be there. So we're gonna go enjoy ourselves a nice cigar, get ready for what's going to be a massive weekend. We got a lot of stuff coming up, and it's nice to have that chill moment, get out some autographs, and hang out with the fans before the storm, so to speak. And but we're looking forward to it. That's always nice, and I think Leatherwood, they did a great job at Gainesville bringing us out to a local, a local place you go out and buy Leatherwood, and we had a line around the place, so it was cool. So that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make their name stick out. They're amongst so many great bourbons, and I think come out and try it. It's paying for us to race, and we appreciate that for sure.
It's also a company that's veteran owned for people that don't know that, and I think it's cool that Mr. Maynard is helping them come out and get involved with NHRA. Tony, let's talk a little Phoenix. It's been a pretty good place to you over the years.
It has, yeah. 99, we went 330 miles an hour with Dan Olson tuning the car in the X-Side car back in the day, and I think that mile per hour stood for a couple of years before anyone else even ran 330. So it was 330.23, and then we went to 1,000 foot. We ran 330.23 again at 1,000 foot. So the place is special. It was, we've won some races there. We've had a lot of success, and we plan on doing it this weekend. Obviously you're all teeing up the race between me and Justin Ashley, and you couldn't have planned something better early in the season. Just a monster matchup, and for so many reasons. So let's get after it.
Okay, so thank you for doing that. Here's the deal. You know it, right? You know it. Galvin was getting after you down there, and Justin too. We know there's no like Justin's a good guy, class act. So are you, drivers, but there's a lot of extra to this story. Let's just face it. There's a lot of extra. And for you guys to meet in a final round so early in the season, there's a lot of extra intrigue going on. And I'll just tee it up for you there. Skag was on your car. Now Skag is on another car. That cannot, be a happy thing, right? Although it did lead to Leatherwood, but just where's your head at in terms of this final?
When you get in these cars, you get amped up, and I've been in a final in a little while. Last year, I think we ran a couple of 4 wides in the finals, and maybe a Bristol or an Epping, but like we haven't had a great year. So my focus is really on getting our first win, with Mike Neff and John Schaefer and these guys. But when you add the pressure to it, I've always said we're a really good pressure team, pretty good pressure driver. And I like that moment. So, Justin Ashley, Mike Green, absolute respect for those guys. The fact that, I introduced that sponsor to the sport, and now we're going to race against them. There's a lot to the story behind the scenes that most people will never know about. But the fact is, I want that trophy. And I guarantee you Justin does too. So for the people who really know how big this is, it's a huge, huge round. I couldn't even tell after when it started to hail in Pomona, and you do not see that often. I literally looked up and said, "Are you kidding me? What's going to happen?" And Zip came out and said, looks like we're going to run it in Phoenix. And I said, well, I'm good at Pomona. I'm good at Phoenix. So it doesn't matter which one we go to, but we had the momentum. We had lane choice. We had a good car going into that round. Now we're going to have to start over, I think, but both of us equally. We're both going to show up with no knowledge of that track this year and go out and do it. I think I ran him last year there and beat him. I'm pretty sure I did first round or the year before, but we have pretty good success against Justin and Mike Green. I don't know what the stats are, but I think it'd favor us by far over 50-50. So we're going to get after, I'm excited. I'm pumped. We get to do that. Then we get to do the shootout, the the mission thing.
Yeah, right.
I've never been in it. I've never been, like, all this time, I haven't got to run one of these stupid things except against Justin, which was a makeup from a rain out in, where did we rain out? Bristol? And run it in Norwalk?
That's actually the greatest stat, because when we went to Epping and didn't race, and then we ran the entire Epping race during qualifying for Bristol.
Yeah,
and they decided that the Too Fast, Too Tasty was going to be awarded to whoever won the Bristol race, because there certainly wasn't going to be time for everybody to race twice. So Tony ended up in the final against Justin in the Epping race, which also counted as the Too Fast, Too Tasty. So Tony has credit for being runner-up in one of the Too Fast, Too Tasty races, but he's never raced in a Too Fast, Too Tasty race, at least not as a standalone event. How's that for a wacko stat? I said that to Bob Fry. I said, "What do you think?" He said, "I think you're turning into Lewis Bloom." I said, "Why do you have to be so mean?"
We had a rough year last year. It was, and we made some. Every race we'd go to, Mike Neff and John Shea were going to make a big change. We're not close enough, and it was. I tried to tell the fans, and I tried to tell kind of everyone involved. This is the first time we're starting with brand new parts, brand new chassis, brand new fuel systems, brand new timers, brand new everything on this car. It's new. And it took them a long time, and we had to make and I can't talk about the changes, obviously. You don't want to leak that stuff, but we made some good changes this year, came out and ran strong right at that Bradenton race. And I knew we had something going, and showing up and running the way we're running, I'm excited again. So I was getting a little beat down, and I've been there before. I've been there where, you go out and you win the championship in 99, then 2000, you're on a great run, then crash a car. Then you're off for a few years, but then you come back and win 6 in a row. So I get it. I've lived the adversity. I've lived the moments of getting through it. I've lived, watching a team build, and these guys that we have on our team, they're really, really good. They're young. A lot of them have never won a race before. This is going to be a great moment for them to stand. But they know whatever happens, they have a good car going into the rest of the season. And I'm just pumped to be there. I'm enjoying working with Joe Maynard. He's a great guy. And, Andy, Special Forces, how do you beat working with Leatherwood? I love bourbon. I love cigars. It's a great mixture. And I'm proud. I think the car itself is gorgeous. Just an awesome looking car. Looks stormtrooper-ish, looks Army-ish.
It absolutely
Tony,
does.
I got one for you. Phoenix has been pretty good to you over the years. You've 6 final round, 5 times you've won. Do you remember the 5 you won, or do you remember the one you lost?
I don't. People always ask which is the worst memory, and it's still Pomona getting beat in the finals on a hole shot by Brandon. So I'm not sure which one did I lose. Tell me.
You lost to Antron in 2012. It's the only time you've ever been beaten in a Phoenix final round. But the other 5 of them, you took home the trophy.
Well, good. I'm not running Antron. This will be nice. It's also not Phoenix. It's Pomona. But whatever. You can word it any way you want. It's that we're good at that particular location. Let's just keep it that way.
Hey, Tony, I just
figured you'd look at Phoenix as a home court advantage since you had so much success there. That's what I was thinking.
Absolutely. No question about it. And I think when I ran Justin there a few years ago, we beat him. I think we smoked the tires. I think I blew it up. He blew it up. We both blew it up. But, we're just going to go after it, man. I mean, I guarantee you Joe Maynard's not back there saying conserve parts on this particular run. He's got just as much vengeance as I do. So play the game. I think that's the thing. We're going to show up and stay focused, and it is a huge round for us. I lost a lot there. I brought that company out to the sport, and I felt like I was left hanging there. So we'll show up, we'll do our job, but all in all, absolute respect for all the distributors, the dealers, that whole group. I love you guys. You became family in a year. So much respect. Let's have a great race, and may the winner, earn it.
See, and that's it. That's all people want. They want a little dose of reality. The idea that it's just another round doesn't make sense to people. What you just said makes sense. Great respect. Those guys, Mike Green, Justin, they're out there earning a living, going after what they, just like you. But this means so much to you and your team, because if you can score this victory, regardless over them, it's kind of like, I don't want to say that the journey is complete, but you and Mike Neff, the big plans, all the things that you worked on last year, you have gotten to where you knew you could get. And it's at the start of a new, fresh season. And that's got to be what you're really shooting for.
It is. And, over the course of the last couple of years, I made great friendships with the dealers of that company and the distributors. We talk all the time. So it's hard to say who they're pulling for in the final. Yeah, they got their colors on that car, but, we helped build that team. So at the end of the day, it's going to be worth the price of admission for that one run. Get out there, watch it. It's going to be beautiful. Hoping for great weather. It looks like it's going to be cool, which makes it fast. And time to cowboy up. Justin's a good leader, man. He's good on the start line.
I think you guys should make a side bet. The loser should have to mow the winner's lawn.
Do we get to choose what kind of mower?
Sure.
Yeah, all right. If I show up on Justin's lawn with a different mower, it's kind of funny photo, huh? Good out. Yeah,
Justin will be the first to tell you he doesn't have a lawn. He lives in New York.
Yeah, he lives in New York. Yeah.
So, yeah, you're 5-3 in final rounds, or in runs against Justin, not in final rounds, in runs against Justin. That's kind of interesting. Also, Jerron Settles is out there. He says he's literally painting your helmet for this weekend right now. He says he's a little under the gun. What do you know about that, Tony?
Yeah, he's been working on it for a long time. But, he races too, so he's a great guy. He's painted a lot of my helmets, and he shows up, he runs the races, and then shoots back home, and he's got a line of helmets to paint, but he does a marvelous job. I'm sure he's behind it. I have one I can use if he doesn't get it done. Don't tell him that, though. I hope you're not watching. Stay focused, stay on tune, get that thing painted.
No, motivated.
He was down in Louisiana painting Slate's car last week. He just got home to do your helmet.
He's all over the place, but he does a great job. Yeah.
That's why they call him the flying airbrush. Other final rounds too. You got John Force and Matt Hagan. You got Erica and Dallas. The first run off the trailer is the Mission Foods Too Fast, Too Tasty Challenge. Like every run is a consequential run here this weekend at a track that we saved. And, there's debate whether it was Reinhardt's wall walk or was it the chanting people at the pre-race or what it was it actually that saved this track. But it's a great news story that I just think we should highlight it. We should celebrate it in an era where the tracks, some are going away due to progress. Some are going away due to great real estate values. This is one that we thought we had lost, but we pulled it back and we saved it. Hopefully a lot of people realize that they got to show up for this event just to celebrate that success.
Yeah, for sure. It's an awesome place. And it's one of the places, when like Denver, like Vandermeer, when you hear they're going away, it was just like, no, I love going there. I love the people. I love the event early in the year. So for sure, the mission race, tell me this, because there's no final round, who's number one, number two? I was asking my crew and they went, I'm not sure. How do you pick who you race without having a final round first?
Well, the mission race pits the semifinalists together. So we ran the semifinals. So the mission race pits the semifinalists together. It could be you and Justin in the final round. It could be neither one of you in the final round of the mission race. And then you guys will come back and run the Pomona race in Q3, no matter how that turns out. So theoretically, a guy has a good weekend. You could have a 3-trophy weekend. You could win the mission challenge. You could win Pomona, and you could win Phoenix all in the same weekend.
I would like that very, very much.
No.
It's been done once, and the one guy who did it was Justin, and that happened when you did all the double up stuff with Epic
right.
and Bristol last year. Yeah.
Yeah, we can't let that happen again, can we?
We shall see. And again, so right out of the box, though, what a season we are having. The competitiveness through the roof, the entire category. And we talked a little bit about over the past few years how, the original Army car kind of, spawned off duplicates that went on to win championships. Antron went on to win championships. Then, Capco popped up and dominated for a few years. Brittany Force has had some championships, and just it's been amazing how Top Fuel has replicated the performance and the domination of that Army car. See Doug Coletta go out there and kind of complete the circuit a little bit with that championship last year. And I feel like we're having this like fresh start of a new era of Top Fuel here in 2024. Do you feel that, or am I making it up?
No, for sure. I felt it for a few years, actually. And I think, over the course of the last couple of years, I've been saying it's the best racing I've ever seen. And every time I say that, we get a slew of emails saying, oh, man, back when Garlitz ran, there were 200 cars that would show up. And I said, I understand that, but he was Garlitz, and then there was everybody else at the time. It was like he was a second ahead. Now we're winning races by 10 thousandths of a second. And it's incredible racing. We're all so close. And because of that, when Alan Johnson left, people took over. Mike Green took over, and then we caught up. We won by a point or 2 points that year in a championship. That's how close we were. And it did spawn a bunch of other teams that started to run with the same parts, same pieces, similar tune-up. And I think people found their homes with their crew chiefs. And, once you do that, you get to stay together and you, like a Doug, win a championship, all of a sudden that team gets stronger and harder to beat. And trust me, when they found their spot last year, we all knew this was going to be a tough car to beat. Doug's a phenomenal driver in everything he drives. Kind of like a Tony Stewart, no matter what he gets in, he knows what he's doing. He's excellent at it. And for me, he's been my adversary for so long. I was so proud to watch him win that championship. If I couldn't do it, I was happy to see him do it. It was a great down to the last run kind of season. It's what people pay money for. We got to remember we're entertainers first. If we can't draw a crowd, if we can't draw people, we don't have jobs. And being Doug Coletta and Leah in the finals, man, you couldn't have said in a script what was better. I mean, I could. The run, that was better, but that was only because it worked out for me. I guarantee it wasn't better for Doug, But to come down to it and have Doug capitalize on that last moment where you got to win the race, and it has to be right now, and he did it. It was great to watch. For me, it reminded me of what everyone was paying the money for. It reminded me of what they're out there in the stands. I stood on the start line like a kid at a candy store. It was just great to watch. No matter who won that, they were going to be the champ.
It reminded me that you don't put Alan Johnson in the right lane at Pomona if you have an opportunity.
He came up to me after the run. He looked at me. He goes, "They put me in the right lane. Can you believe that?" I said, I cannot believe that. It was unbelievable.
Amazing. Looking ahead, heading to Chicago, big race, another track that we've saved. But this year is going to be particularly special for you. This is the first time you've been on WFO since the passing of your dad. And of course, our deepest condolences on that. And he affected the sport so far beyond just the people that worked on his team. He was always incredibly kind and forthcoming to me when I needed a few minutes of, help me kill some time, Don. And he was great. We're going to celebrate his life out there at the Gerber Collision and Glass Route 66 Nationals. And that's not too far away. Do you guys have anything special planned that you can reveal? And it's just got to be It's going to be interesting to go through that mourning process as a sport.
Yeah, it kind of caught me off guard. I went down to visit him a whole bunch near the end there, and I would say, "You look good," and he'd go, "I don't look good on the inside." He's like, "This is killing me," and it was surprising how fast it all happened, and kind of caught us off guard. He's the Don, and you can't kill that guy. He's a machine. But for him, for our family, for the employees, because we had 2,000 employees at Schumacher Electric. I think we had 500 people come in to the race from both Schumacher Electric and just friends and family. So, yeah, I'm hoping we'll have a special look on the car. I can't say anything yet, but I'm guessing it'll be something retro and cool. I mean, to see Caps do a Prud'homme car, that was awesome. So if everything goes smoothly and we could do a Don Schumacher car, it'd be just a beautiful thing.
Look forward to seeing that. I think that's going to be a pretty emotional weekend on a lot of levels. And I agree with what Joe said. I think it was great that we got Chicago back after it sat dormant for a few years, able to go up there and, started off with the regional race and showed the community interest. And hopefully we're going to be going back there for a long time. That facility is just way too nice to be sitting dormant.
100%. It's where I grew up. Chicago, Illinois was my home for 40 plus years of my life. And that track, when they announced it, and I went out to look at it, it's just a gorgeous racetrack. And when it sat, I just couldn't believe it, and for so many reasons. It's one of the top tracks in one of the biggest cities in the nation. So look forward to getting back there. Look forward to doing it in front of my friends and family and cousins and people I haven't seen in a while since I moved to Texas. And it's a special day there.
Tony, before we let you go, I want to mention once again, 4:00 out there at the Puro Cigar Bar in Chandler. This is on Thursday. You guys will be out there hanging out. You're going to have bottles. You'll be signing bottles. It is a great deal, great way to meet the fans. And I really appreciate you coming on WFO. Like, we don't really ever get to hype final rounds for a couple of weeks. People have been thinking about you and Justin, and they're thinking about Hagan and John Force. We might see you and Force share a winner circle. Who knows? We might see a share too. It's just a banner weekend here in the NHRA at a track that we saved. A lot of positive energy. I'm super excited for the weekend. Thank you for spending a little time with us here on WFO.
Anytime. And Alan, remember, it's Summer's birthday month. It was her birthday month, so she's celebrating out there. So all the gifts, I like bring something. She likes cars and purses,
She doesn't have much taste in men, but yeah, cars and purses maybe.
Yeah, relaxing. That's all right. I got her trick.
Very fashionable, by the way. Her starting line persona is something like there. If this was soccer, where there's a whole genre of websites dedicated to the wives and girlfriends of the players, if we had that in NHRA, she would be one of the premier features, because she really goes all out with the jackets and the look. There's a lot that goes into that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, there is. And, this year it's kind of funny because we'll have an Akuma race in Vegas and in Charlotte. So she's picking her outfits for each one of them, and she does a great job. But she's more beautiful on the inside. Everyone that knows her, at first, because she's got that, that look where she's a little intimidating. And once people get to know her, they go, she's just nicer on the inside than she's beautiful on the outside. So, yep, we'll keep her decorated on the start line because the fans seem to love it.
That's great. Well, exactly. As you said, everybody is an entertainer at the NHRA. We're trying to draw a crowd. You guys are doing a great job. Tony, thank you very much. Good luck in the race. And hey, maybe we'll be talking next week.
Sounds great. Look forward to it.
There he goes.
In a couple days.
With us here on WFO Radio. Yeah, exciting, Alan. Exciting. We got, I didn't hit him with the odds though. You want to hear the odds? Here are the odds. There, yeah, he wants here. I'm going to bring it back. All right, here we go. According to Caesars, Justin is minus 130. You are plus 100. So bet 100, win 100. He's a slight favorite. Bet 130 to win 100. But that's pretty close. That's not quite pick 'em, but close. But you are the underdog.
Good.
Does that rankle you at all?
Nope.
You want to hear the odds for the other finals just to get in it, since the folks at Caesars, and anybody can wager on these if you're in a state where the Caesars app exists. That's what's great about NHRA is the degenerates are out there going, what is this? Who's this John Force person? John Force is plus 105. Hagan is minus 135. So that's bet 135 to win 100. So Hagan is the favorite over Force by a less amount than Justin is over you. So that John Force is the underdog.
Well, going into that race, I'm not going to lie, we were all standing there on his last qualifying run, weren't we? It was something that was surprising to see them struggle like that for him to go out, qualify in the last run, and then make it to where he is. That's John Force for you, man. That's why he's got so many championships and so many wins. He's a beast.
And Erica, minus 160, Dallas plus 130. So the most prominent and decided favorite. This is final round. Pro Stock. Erica Enders is the favorite. I don't know, man. I think that Dallas Glenn is a bit of a value.
I like it. Good bet. I've learned from Pete Rose not to bet on these things.
Very smart for you to say that on the air.
You learned that from Pete, huh?
Yes. But what about Ohtani? Right? I thought it's okay now.
I'm not even going to go. It's not worth it to me, right? It's just not worth it.
The Wally is priceless. All right, Tony. Thank you very much. Yeah. There he goes, Tony Schumacher. Had to bring him on for the odds, right? I got the odds sheet.
I've never understood why there's a problem betting on your sport as long as you're betting on yourself to win.
Right.
Right. I mean, if I'm going up against Joe and I bet $1,000 that I'm going to win, what's the problem? If I bet $1,000 on Joe, then okay, I can see that being a problem. If Pete Rose was betting on the Reds to win, isn't that his job?
I think it was that he lied about it. It's really the thing that sunk his battleship is that, he should have just made that case right from the jump, and it would have been much better, an easier argument to make. But I agree, Alan. It's also hard to police that, right? Like they don't want you betting on it. But now, like this is the thing that, is drag racing a gambling sport, Alan? It always is in the grandstands. Remember when they turned off the lights and the...
It used to be at Maryland and Englishtown, I promise you. Even on Wednesday night.
About the most ridiculous things. Which light comes on, red light, whatever, right lane, left lane, regardless of who actually won. Doesn't matter. It's a gambling sport. I don't know. I like seeing the fact that, some of the folks, we got Drag Race Bracket Bonanza. Elon's going to join us here in a few minutes. But the folks at Caesars are posting odds for NHRA every race all year long. And I think it is very exciting. I'm super excited to see how that all plays out because there are people that just look at the app and they want to bet on something, man. NHRA, where's this? It's on Fox. I'll watch it. I'll place a wager on this Schumacher guy and I'll go watch the final and see and have something extra to enjoy. That's part of growing the sport as well. So you give me your thoughts on those other two final rounds before we move to the Arizona Nationals.
I honestly think the Pro Stock final is the coin flip. I think that, Erica struggled with the car all week when they were in Pomona, and I think she'd tell you the same thing. The first time they actually made a good, clean run was in the semifinals when they beat Greg. But, that car was beatable early in the weekend, and nobody took advantage of it. Now, coming into Phoenix, it's going to be who gets acclimated the quickest. And I'm not sure if either of those teams are planning to be in Tucson the next day or two. None of the trucks are here when I pulled in this morning. But I think that's probably the closest of the two. I think that Caesar's got the Hagen and Force one right. I don't think it's a huge underdog, but I think Hagen's got to be considered a little bit of a favorite. After all, he is the champion. And you look at, what he's done the last 4, 5, 6 races. You look at how long it's been since John's been in the winner's circle. So I think that Hagen deserves to have a little bit of a nod there. And I think basically exactly the same thing for Justin and Tony. I think you look at, it's been a while since Tony's been there. He certainly is hungry. He certainly had a good car and was ready to go for it out there when we were in Pomona. But I think overall, as of late, Justin has had the better car. And I think if I was laying the odds, I'd give a slight, and I think that's what you said. It was a pretty slight advantage to Justin. But I don't think either one of them is a real. It would really make the world spin backwards if this one won, because I think that there's a reason that all 6 of those drivers made it into the final round.
Well, it's very difficult. Just looking at all the odds, I can make an argument for everybody to win the race, right? And even the ones that I can't make the argument for them to win the race. I know crazy things happen in the sport of drag racing. Like I wasn't going to bring up Greg Carrillo when Tony was on with us a couple of years ago, but he got through Tony and got through Antron, right? If you had a wager on Greg Carrillo, you would have been feeling like, man, you could buy Tesla with the win.
Yeah, but everybody gets their first win against Tony. I mean, he's used to that. That's their first
the
round.
Guys, he's still down there watching, and we didn't do it to you while you were on, Tony.
And no, he knows. Because for so many years, he was the number one qualifier every week. And if they made a mistake, if they did something, then, everybody got their first round win against Tony just because he was so much better in qualifying than everybody. But
all right, he's hanging out. I brought him back.
That's no
Tony,
secret, right?
You hang out, I bring you back, right? Like, I didn't mean to rankle you.
So Tony would rather race Doug Coletta head up than race me in my first round of competition because he knows, right?
Yeah, and you're right. It was a qualifying position. You end up, where you're running the 16 qualifier, and if you smoke the tires and they just labor on down there, they get their win. I mean, it happens, Lytton, got so many people, everybody that's gotten their first round win. I guarantee if you look back, there's nobody that's been in the other lane more than me.
I believe that's true. I think there's like 11 of them. There's a list out there someplace.
I'd love to know that more. It's why. It's a big one.
Let me see if I can find it.
Everybody. Yeah. Anyone that's new at racing that's won a round has done it against me.
And that's because you are number one qualifier so often, or qualified near the top, they're qualified near the bottom, and something happens. But it is what it is. And when you're involved in so many, 86 wins, 8 championships, but exciting to look ahead. Is Reinhart looking up the list right now? Am I stalling for that?
See if I can find it.
Oh, Tony, you're just hanging out watching the show. I saw you down there and you're reacting, and I thought, I'm bringing this guy back in. You
don't. It's good to hear from other perspectives, and it's nice. The odds. It's funny about odds. People walk up to you before a race and go, "Look, you got a 12% chance of winning this race." You're still going to hit the gas the same. Once a car starts, it's amazing how your brain forgets all that stuff, and you show up. Now, I will tell you, my foot's going to hit the gas faster when I'm running a Justin than it is a first round against a Lytton. And you can look back at mostly everybody. First round, when you're 1, 2, 3 qualifier, unless you end up running a Josh Hart first round because he qualified 13th or 14th, generally speaking, I'm going to have a 1:0, 1:05 light. I'm not going to red light. It's not going to be dictated by a hole shot, no matter what. Either a car's going to go down the track, right? So we're pretty good at understanding risk and reward. Guaranteeing this final, both of us are going to be up on our game. Have to be.
Yeah. And it's interesting how that game has gotten quicker. Like, Tony Stewart's dropping 20 lights now, 30 lights are, I want to say they're common, but they're attainable. We're seeing them happen a lot. When you guys got to get up on the wheel, 30 lights seem to be the number nowadays. It wasn't always that way.
They happen. We probably got one coming because I beat Justin on a whole shot there in Reading, I think with a 27 light. He had a 45, but you don't get beat with a 45. That's what wins whole shots. So we put them out of the championship, and I guarantee he's got that in the back of his mind. So what we need him to do is push it a little harder. Go for that negative 25, say, Yeah. Really push it.
But it's an interesting thing that you bring up there in terms of as Neff and John and everybody just kind of go back and forth across the car, improving at all times, right? Improving. You mentioned changes that you guys made that are proprietary. That's free time if you can get it, right? If you can figure out how to make the car react quicker and put it more in the hands of the driver, you can go after there and get a little ET.
Well, and for sure, the driver, it's surprising. We can hit the gas quicker. There's ways to do it and practice and practice and practice. I've always been conservative on the lights. I have a couple hundreds in the bank. Don't leave early. And a 60 light won me 8 championships over and over. We always say be a machine. Now you got to push it a little more certain rounds. Not every round, but certain rounds. And I think this round coming up is going to be one of those ones where I'm going to have to reach down deep inside and pull up a really good, without pushing it too much. This is not a guessing game. This is a see the light, fire, and you got to do all those things. Think about the run. We have to beat Melanie, who's my teammate. Now, anyone in the world could say she's going to lay down, but we know she's not going to. And I can't leave late. I don't want to get beat on a whole shot, set a world record, lose. We can't leave early. It'd be even worse to red light, set a world record, have everything handed to you. So just being there in the middle, being just good, just enough. And that's been my thing. Justin, he's a 40 lever kind of on a regular basis. Tony Stewart's doing it too. And it's going to push us all to get a little quicker. and we'll do it because there's more in there. We all have a little more in us. We just got to try a little bit harder. They couldn't do it if it wasn't possible. So they're just showing us that it's there.
Well, I couldn't find that list on this computer, so apologize.
You can say everybody.
I'll see if I can look it up.
Smash it, Reinhart.
But it became the standard, and like I said, Tony's was always the number one qualifier. So whoever was the new person that just snuck in the field, or if it was a 16-car field, we're going to end up being the number 16 qualifier. And if they went out there and had a problem or had a glitch or made a mistake, then the light would come on in the other lane. And I said, I think, when Tony pulled up the starting line and looked over and went, Joe Castello's first race, huh? Ah, crap. Because that was almost like, lightning it has a better chance of striking here than if you were racing a Doug Collitter, if you were racing a Gary Scelzi. And it just happened time and time again.
I got Magooed. I mean, I go back and think I was pedaling the car 5 times down the track, and I was almost catching them, pedaling it, I'm like, and I'm looking at them going, are you kidding? It smoked at the, head of the throttle, and I got Mr. Magooed, man. It was crazy.
Yeah. Jenna Haddock.
He got on and apologized. He apologized. He can apologize, man.
People love that, though. No, listen, this is like the way you're acting right now, and, like laughing about crazy defeat. That's why people like certain people. That is what endears you to certain people, that you can laugh at the tough times in drag racing, like the time you got wore out first round by people who are showing up at their first race. And, it's very serious. People are making their livings out there, but if you can't laugh at the crazy stuff,
you gotta understand, and that's true. And I'm going to get off, but 86 wins, hundreds of losses. Thousands, I've lost a lot of times. How many races have I been in? And it's like 500, 600, like you're not going to win them all. And each one, the more rounds you go, the harder it gets and all that stuff. But you got to understand it's a law of averages, right? You got to win the ones that are important. Really, you got to win the ones you're supposed to. And then half the ones that are brutally hard, or maybe even a little more to go out and win these championships. And you got to find a way. And my strengths in pedaling cars, keeping a car straight, that is someone goes, what's your go-to? Keeping a car straight, balanced. It's not leaving the start line. But if we both hit the start line and we're going to keep the car straight, I'm going to keep it straighter than most. And I think it's going to keep the car balanced. So understanding that getting those win lights when they must come on, when the pressure's on, the way the world's sitting on you, that's a good time.
Super exciting. All right. We're going to let you go this time for real. But I really appreciate the extra bonus time, hanging out a little bit and kicking it with me and Reinhart. I appreciate it. Have fun this weekend at the the bourbon tasting out there, Puro Cigars, and we'll see you at the track on Friday.
That was great. Bye, guys.
There he goes, Tony Schumacher.
We'll see you again in a few minutes.
Or perhaps, we could always bring him back. No, and in like one of the greatest whiplash moments in the history of WFO radio, from 8-time world champion Tony Schumacher to Drag Race Bracket Bonanza entrepreneur Elon Werner.
You should have some kind of screeching brake sound when you go from a guy like Tony Stewart or Tony Schumacher to me. It's just, but if you're talking Drag Race Bracket Bonanza, do not sleep on Tony Schumacher. He's won it 5 times. He's going into the final. He could get his own 3-peat this weekend. So that's the kind of stuff that competitors like Schumacher, Force, that's like red meat to a tiger for those guys, I think.
So, and that's why, like, this is like 3 weeks in a row you've been on with Alan and I, and it's just like, we're going to tighten it up, make a quick hit, get some stats in there, right? I have put the link in the chat section, dragracebracketbonanza.com, and the WFO League code. We do not have winners for the last one because we did not get final rounds in. So we're still on pause, but I know you have some insights that you could share with us, which I think is kind of interesting.
So this race feels like drag racing 1998, 2010, when the favorite should be Tony, John Force in a final round. He's raced at every national event at Firebird. So I think there's 2 people that have been to every race, Reinhart and Force. That's it. And so you got Force, but also Cap's 30th year on tour, Hagen trying to get that 50th Wally, Erica trying to get the 50th Wally. And Erica still is the odds-on pro stock pick. 3 times as many people pick her to win every race. Austin Prock in Funny Car, second most predictive winner of Drag Race Bracket Bonanza in the Funny Car category, regardless of where he qualifies. People love, I think it's the power of the Jimmy Prock, Thomas Prock tune-up. He's proven he can, win rounds. But those are the keys right there. And then I think you have to look at Justin Ashley, again, trying to get that three-peat of winning the conclusion of the Winter Nationals, winning Mission Too Fast, Too Tasty, and then winning the Arizona Nationals, where he's the defending champion there.
And he's the only one that pulled off that three-peat.
And really, his three-peat will still be the top of the pyramid of the three-peat, I think, in that he won 4 rounds of Epping at Bristol and the Mission and the Bristol race. This is just kind of one final round to get the Winter Nationals win, Mission potentially national event. So that the feat that Justin did in Bristol last year, I think, is the gold standard. Force could be the first Funny Car guy to ever do it, but I think that's now it's going to make that for a crazy weekend. The good news is the postponement didn't affect the brackets. We just essentially locked them. We'll get the points. You'll get your points. We'll recognize the race winners. We'll get the plaque signed, get those mailed out, and then we'll roll right into the Arizona Nationals. So lots going on.
Very exciting. Very exciting.
I don't know if you were here. I'm sorry, Elon. I don't know if you're here earlier, but I think the most fascinating stat is the Tony Schumacher in the Too Fast, Too Tasty challenge, because he has a runner-up in one, but he's never raced in one.
Yeah. So how did he do that?
When they did the Epping redo,
that's right.
They just made the semifinals and the final count for the Too Fast, Too Tasty. They didn't have the extra race.
Right.
And that's where Justin tripled up with the trophies, but he really only won 2 races because they didn't have the third one. That's the only time Tony has been a part of the Too Fast, Too Tasty challenge. He was a runner-up in it, but he's never actually raced in a Too Fast, Too Tasty challenge until next weekend.
That's good. And I love that Mission Too Fast, Too Tasty. To me, that is, I would say, one of the greatest additions to our sport. I think what Mission did, the excitement level, I just think it's really cool because it just does. I think you'll start to see some beefs getting sorted out with that deal.
I think when Dan Wilkerson called it the Chimichanga Challenge, I love that.
Fantastic. Yeah, so record weekend for Drag Race Bracket Bonanza at the Winter Nationals, by the way. Over 1,000 brackets filled out. When you add in the league brackets, it's getting closer to 1,500 brackets filled out. Over 150 leagues now. I will give a shout out to Joe that the WFO league is one of the biggest leagues and the most active. So I'm also excited. We got the 4-wide challenge coming up. First time we'll ever do 4-wide, and the 4 trophies that the overall winners will get arrived at my house this week. So I'm excited for those. So we'll continue to kind of have cool prizes.
Whoa. You're going to tease us and not show us? This is very visual.
Well, I thought about grabbing them, but they're in the next room. So I'd have to get up and leave, and then you'd have to just stare at the blank wall.
No, we wouldn't.
Now,
we'll wait.
Now, because everybody's got bracket stuff going on, do you have anybody that has a chance to have a perfect bracket in either of the big 3 for Pomona?
I don't know, and I meant to ask about that because we did have some perfect brackets, Top Fuel and Pro Stock Motorcycle.
Not mine.
No, not mine either. But at least I'm consistent with my brackets. I'm currently ranked 22 millionth with my college basketball bracket. I aspire someday to have someone ranked 22 millionth in Drag Race Bracket Bonanza, but that's where I am. So pretty much. I don't know if I'm in contention. There's some people that are doing the promotions for the worst bracket. You can get a free set of wings or something, but I think I have to be when Yale upset Auburn, that pretty much annihilated my bracket.
Are you talking about the basketball bracket bonanza?
Yes.
Okay.
Basketball basketball.
Because Yale and Auburn don't drag race show.
Well, that would be killer if they did. That'd be a tough one to pick. Yale's drag racing team versus Auburn's drag racing team. I'm here for it though.
Yeah, they would definitely have the lawyers to figure out how to protest the victory. It's up on the screen, folks. The invite code is number 4, capital B, number 5, lowercase COJDW, dragracebracketbonanza.com. You can join one of the largest and most active leagues at dragracebracketbonanza.com, and hopefully we will, we'll continue to grow and, get some trash talk on there and a little bit of fun. And that's it.
It's been nice. I've seen on social media people that are like posting pictures of their plaque, and then they're interacting with each other on social media, talking about winning more plaques or winning more prizes. So I love kind of the whole community. I mean, it's there for fun. It's there to give you something to talk about. But follow us on social media. And then, like Joe said, you can sign up at dragracebracketbonanza.com.
All right, Elon, before I let you go, like me, I'm kind of dogged for the story, and Tony Schumacher was gone, but then he came back. Why don't you go get the trophy? Why don't you go get the trophy? We're gonna put you down there. You see what I did there, Reinhart? Like, we got a chance to break the news of the big trophy. What does it look like? Right? That might inspire some people to join the league. And to Nicole out there, you can join multiple leagues.
Why would I care what the trophy looks like?
Well, yeah, that is as well. Your point taken, Reinhart. Put it right in the middle.
It's weird.
Right,
hang on. I don't know if I can. How do I get it to unblur myself?
Who knows? Put it over your face. There it is, right in the middle. Look at that.
So, Reinhart, you'll appreciate this. I asked for a trophy that would hold 12 ounces so the winners can pour a beer into it. And they can actually, when the guy was like, well, how big do you want it? And I go, it has to be at least holding 12 ounces so you can actually drink out of it if you wanted to. So
a chalice. It is a chalice,
yes,
a championship. That is the chalice of victory.
Yeah.
We're getting a good enough look. It works.
All right, there you go.
There it is.
Yeah, so I'm excited. So the top 4 overall winners get trophies. And then every 4th place finisher beyond that gets a special certificate. So in honor of the 4-wide, 1 through 4 get a trophy, then 8th place, 12th place, 16th place, all the way to 40th get something.
That won't be me.
Could be.
Could be.
But again, shout out to Allie Bland, who's still holding strong in the major 2nd place. So she could, the Winter Nationals outcome could be a big player for her.
All right. Well, Elon, thank you very much for the insight.
I look forward to seeing you here in a couple of days.
There he goes.
Right.
Elon from bracketbonanza.com. Yeah, Alan, we're not, he's talking about all this great stuff that we're not going to get. I love the fact, though, that you can pour a couple of beers in there. It's exciting.
Well, my chiller holds 16-ounce aluminum bottles, so I could pour part of one in there. But the whole thing reminded me of, when I was racing the one time and I'm looking at the sheet and I asked the guy, I said, how could I possibly be qualified 178th? And he said, because that's all the cars there are.
All right. Moving on. This weekend as a local, just give me a little insight. I promised at the beginning of the show that you would give a little insight into how this thing got saved. And I know we've talked about it in the past, but this is race week. How did this thing get saved?
Well, it was really a community effort. The track, I'm reasonably sure everybody by now knows the track is actually located on the Gila River Indian Reservation and has been from day one. Firebird Lake actually predates the racetrack. The reason it was called Firebird Raceway in the first place is because it was built on the property where Firebird Lake already existed. And there were some people on the tribal council that were looking at alternative ways to develop and to utilize the piece of property there, which is, it's pretty prime real estate. It's just off the interstate. There was a lot of talk about, well, they just want to build another casino, but that's not possible. The way that the laws are, the way that you keep Indian gaming from ending up looking like Las Vegas is the casinos can't be next to each other. And there's one across the street. So you couldn't build another casino there if you wanted to. But between local law enforcement, the local racing community, the national racing community, and it's not just NHRA. There are a lot of people that race there. There are boat associations that race there. The Lucas Off-Road Series races there. The Radford Driving School has been there for a long time. They have, skid contests, skid pad stuff and drifting contests and a number of things. And basically, I think it was a matter of lobbying. I do think that some of the press we got from the last national event last year, and then as we counted down to what was going to be the last race, because the racetrack basically shuts down in the summer months. In Arizona, it gets just too hot to go out and race just like in parts of the country, it gets too cold or too snowy to go out and race. So, there was another big news story when the track was actually going to be closing its doors for good. And a combination of things got the tribal council to reconsider. And I understand also, and I certainly don't know the ins and outs, but I understand that they had some personnel changes on the tribal council, and potentially some of the people that were maybe against the racetrack no longer held office, so to speak. And the tribal council decided that the racetrack was good for their community. It brings in money to the Gila River community. It brings in business to the casino that's across the street. And, in order to also be a good neighbor, that they decided that, the racetrack is an up and running viable commodity that we have. It's not like we got to go invest $5 million and build a new this or a new that. It's here. All we have to do is agree to use it. And so the tribal council had another vote, and it came through that they were going to keep the racetrack. Chuck Sundstrom, who has been very heavily involved, he was the guy who was the drag strip manager for the last few years, and off and on, I think for a decade and a half, was also very active in dealing with the Gila River community. And they decided, you know what, we have an asset. Instead of taking down this asset, closing down this asset, and investing a lot in a new asset that may or may not be better than what we have, wouldn't it make more sense just to utilize what we have? And so, as I understand it, there's long-term agreements in place to keep the racetrack there. And I think it's great for the Arizona community, because as we've seen, every place that has shut down a drag strip has seen street racing just explode. And that's a big enough problem when you have a drag strip. It was a huge deal down here in Tucson a few years back when the street racing was just going absolutely nuts. And Jim Hughes reached out to the street racers and said, guys, we have a track. Instead of getting your cars impounded, instead of crashing things, instead of running over people, why wouldn't you just come out and do this? And they said, well, we don't like the way you do it. He said, well, what do you want to do? And he started putting together events just for them. And it has had a big impact on the street racing scene here in Tucson, because they know they can come here to the racetrack. They have specific events just for them. They don't have to come up and be the regular NHRA format, they can do whatever they want. And they can come out here and race in a controlled environment where they've got safety personnel, they've got medical personnel if needed. And you don't have to worry about somebody pulling out in front of you. You don't have to worry about getting your car impounded. You don't have to worry about getting your insurance canceled. You don't have to worry about any of that, but you can come out and race. And so that's become a big deal in a lot of communities. And I know they've been doing the same thing at Firebird. They have some very specifically built events where if you showed up with a super gas car, you'd be told, yeah, sorry, come back Saturday. This ain't your event. We're not here for that. We're here to get the guys that have the really fast street cars that just want to go out there. We're here to give them a place to race with their structure, with their event. And it's got nothing to do with dragsters. It's got nothing to do with, super stock cars. It's strictly for guys and gals that have fast street cars that want to go out and show off, or want to go out and have head-to-head competition and not have scoreboards and not have anybody really know how fast your car goes, but they want to be able to do it in a controlled environment. And I just think it's a win-win-win. And I'm very grateful that I get to continue my streak. I was at Firebird opening night, and I've been there for every national event, as Elon said. I think it's me and John Force. And
that's awesome.
And
that's a great stat.
I'm very grateful that we can continue the legacy.
Amazing. All right. So spending a lot of time, I know you're at the track there. So but Cameron Caruso,
I got nothing else to do. So whatever you want to do is fine with me.
Cameron Caruso got her first win here at this track a year ago. Got around Hartford in the semifinals. They will Total Seal supporting the Pro Mod Challenge this weekend. Hartford home race, very important to him. New car, all that. We've got a lot of talk about Erica, a little talk about Dallas. Spoke with Michael Heiner on the Ignition show last night. He feels like KB Titan is working through their having to readjust with the intake manifold situation. Give me a thought or two on Pro Stock.
Well, Arizona is a tough place for a Pro Stock car, simply because the track has a little bit of altitude, and that's something you've got to adjust for. The air is very dry, and that's something that you've got to adjust for. So it is kind of a unique circumstance. It's Denver was always the most unique place in pro stock simply because of the 5,000 foot altitude. You don't have all of the power that you have. So your car in Denver was always very different from any place else. And I think Phoenix is pretty close to the same. There's not a lot that compares to Phoenix. Phoenix and Vegas are close, but there are still differences between the two. So you've got to have a car that is uniquely tuned, uniquely geared, and uniquely set up to run. And I think that's the reason that there's going to be a handful of them coming here to Tucson, just to get your engine tune up right, get your engine happy with the dry air, the lack of humidity that we normally have out here in Arizona, because there's only 3 qualifying sessions. And for the racers that are in it, as you mentioned with Tony, you can come right out of the trailer. Your first hit at the racetrack is Too Fast, Too Tasty Challenge from Pomona. So you don't even get one tune-up run before you're racing for something that really matters. And if that is enough incentive to get people to do a little testing, I can certainly understand why.
Yes, certainly. Top Fuel, Tony mentioned it. He and Justin ran first round at this race last year. Justin got the win light, defeated Mike Salinas, Steve Torrence, and Sean Langdon en route to victory. And so looking to go back to back. And that was kind of a harbinger of things to come for Justin, who went on and led the series in wins in Top Fuel. I think that's got to make him certainly one of the favorites to go out there and win it.
Well, Justin had the most consistent car all year last year until we got into the countdown to the championship, when Doug came to life and Justin kind of backed off a little bit on his consistent performance. There's a reason that he won more of the Too Fast, Too Tasty challenges than anybody. There's a reason that he kept piling up all those points. There's a reason that he won 6 races, because they had a good, solid, consistent car, and because Justin rarely, if ever, makes a mistake on the starting line. And Tony Schumacher knows that. I love listening to Tony Schumacher, because as long as I've known him and as long as I've watched him race, I don't know that I've ever seen him surprised. When you say, oh, well, there's this. And he said, I'm aware of that. Well, there's, this, because he pays attention to the details. He knows conditions. He knows what happened to his opponent in the last round. He knows. I don't know how many racers go to the starting line and understand that, okay, the guy that I'm racing in the next round just went 650. And so if I have to pedal it once to get lane choice, I'm going to pedal it once to get lane choice on a solo. And he'll do that. But he just, Tony doesn't miss much. So, he's aware of what Justin's track record is. He's aware of how good Justin is. He's aware that this is going to be one of those times when you better climb up on the wheel and have one of those, 20 or 28 reaction times. You better not be 65 against Justin unless you're counting on him to make a mistake.
Robert Hite, the defending race winner in funny car over Ron Capps in the final round. Bob Tasca was the number 1 qualifier. This is where we started to see the Aaron Brooks, Todd Okahara, crew chiefing, dynamic take shape with that. Like, oh man, look at what these guys got figured out. Bob Tasca was left for dead, but in the end, it was Robert Hite who went on. Of course, we miss Robert. Austin Prock, though, in the car that went out to win the race. But funny car is funny car, right? You can tell by the odds makers. They, like the favorite is Hagan, but Tasca, Austin, John Capps, and J.R. Todd are all right in there, log jammed in.
I really would have liked to see what the Vegas odds makers would have said for the final round in Gainesville if we had had time to do like we had now, right? When you've got the absolute dominant Chevrolet of Austin Prock, and you've got JR, who got to the final round having never made a 300-mile-an-hour run, having never made a 3-second. What would the odds have been in that one? And how big a payoff would you have gotten when the DHL boys figured it out in the final? I still believe, until somebody proves me wrong on a 4, 5, 6 race string, the big four are the big four, until somebody else proves to me that they belong to be in, they deserve to be in that group. Phoenix is where Capps got his first ever round win 30 years ago. It's also where Doug Coletta got his first ever round win. It's where there's probably a dozen drivers over the years that got their first ever round win. And there are a couple of them that are coming in this year looking for their first ever round win to add to that. So that's another thing that's part of the Phoenix lore. The first place that people saw a win light. Tony Stewart hasn't seen one yet. Jasmine obviously had the mechanical issue last week, so she'll have an opportunity to get her first one here. Sienna Wildgust hasn't seen a win light yet. She'll have an opportunity. I believe Camry Caruso got her first ever win light at this track too. So that's something that's always been part of the Phoenix lore. Is so many people remember the first time the beacon came on the wall as they raced as a pro was in Phoenix.
What do you make of the Travis Shoemake story with Gerda June as crew chief? The diversity in the sport. We talked about the Shirley Dock and Shirley paving the way. Crew chiefs, though, female crew chief, worth note, question mark.
TBD. I think that, I'm going to just kind of wait and see. Kim LaHaye was credited with being crew chief for Dick years and years ago. And it was pretty well known that, they worked hand in hand, but she was credited with being the crew chief, and her knowledge of nitro cars, I think, exceeded all other females for a number of years. Gerda has been around the sport for a long time. She's been around working with her husband for a long time, but they've always been on a real shoestring budget. And I think Travis has put together an operation where, he certainly doesn't have the parts inventory and the stuff that a Torrence does or a Coletta does. But I think Gerda is going to have an opportunity to work with some better parts, some newer technology, some stuff that she's had a chance to have her hands on in the past. So I am going to just kind of wait and see, what she can show me. I will not be surprised if the car goes out there, runs solid, qualifies middle of the pack, and maybe wins a round or two. But I think there's too many variables there for anybody to have a real feel for exactly how it's going to go. And so, take a couple of runs and let's see.
That's a great underdog story. I think a lot of people will be pulling for him. Before we let you go, I've been hearing some rumblings. And, the whole Bradenton race was a great opportunity to try some things that have been conceived over the years. Like maybe we should try something. And they tried one thing, which was 3 qualifying sessions in one day. And, it hasn't been announced yet, I don't think publicly, or maybe it has, but I haven't seen it. But that perhaps there will be a race at some point in the future that will be 3 qualifying sessions in one day. Do you think that's a good idea for the National Event Tour?
I'm not against trying new things. Do I think it's going to revolutionize the sport? No, but I am all for trying new things. And if you've got a racetrack that maybe doesn't have the lights to run late at night, or maybe doesn't have the curfew to run on Friday night, or maybe a track that just wants to do something different to set their event apart from all the others, I am not opposed at all to trying new things. I think if that means that, Hardcore Thursday turns into Hardcore Friday for the Lucas competitors, then that's not necessarily a bad thing. Give them, I think it's cool when they have a day that the entire spotlight is on them. So they know if the fans are coming out, they're coming out to see them. But, we learned during the coming out of COVID, that, we've always done it this way. Doesn't make any difference anymore. It doesn't mean anything. We needed to embrace new ideas. We needed to try new things in order to get ourselves back to work coming out of COVID. Some of them, the fans and the competitors responded to very positively, and they've kind of stayed in the mix. Some of them didn't. But I'm not at all opposed to trying new things. If that's something that one of the tracks and the NHRA management team deemed, let's give this a shot someplace, then sign me up. I'm ready.
I agree. Final thought before we head to the races this weekend in your hood.
Just that it's about to get busy. I think I've got one weekend off between now and the 1st of July. So, it's we started into the season kind of rolling a little bit here and a little time off here and a race here and then take a break. And it's going to start cranking up because, Vegas and then the Vegas big regional, which, by the way, it was officially announced. I think we kicked it around last week, but it was officially announced that the majority of the Pomona sportsmen are going to conclude during the Vegas regional at some point during that 4-day event. So there'll be some Pomona trophies handed out there. And then, it's off and running. We go to Charlotte and, hang on, because the ride's about to get pretty busy.
Yes. Super exciting. Alan, great job. Thank you so much. And I'll see you in a few days.
Thank you. One last thing I guess I'm going to throw in there. This would be the perfect weekend for those of you that are big time college basketball fans to come out, watch yourself a couple of Final Four games on Saturday. You can come to Friday qualifying, take Saturday, go across town, go to the semifinals, the national semifinals, then come back to the drag races on Sunday, then go back across town on Monday and watch the national championship, because Phoenix is going to have the spotlight of the sports universe for college basketball. And since my guys got kicked in the teeth in the round of 16, I have jumped on the NC State bandwagon, and go Wolfpack.
Wow. Okay. Along with Amanda. That makes perfect sense.
Well, see, Amanda and I had an appointment because the way the brackets were, the only way Arizona and NC State would play was if it was Monday night in the national championship game. So we had an appointment. If both of our teams got there, that we were going to go. If it scalps tickets for whatever, who cares? We're going to both go. We're going to both get big tubs of popcorn, and we're going to sit next to each other, and we're going to yell and scream and throw popcorn at each other during the whole race or during the whole game, no matter who wins. Well, my guys didn't make it. So I jumped on her bandwagon, and their number 11 seed is, Purdue is going to be tough, but the number 11 seed is in the Final Four. They've got a shot at it.
How do we leverage this? Drag racing. Let's do a hauler parade around the arena. Let's do something. Jerron is out there.
It's actually about probably 40 or 50 miles away. State Farm Stadium is way, way northwest, and Firebird Motorsports Park is way on the south side of town. But we could, I think Purdue's in Indiana, right? So there's got to be some Indiana fans that are both basketball fans and drag race fans. And what do they have to do on Sunday?
Exactly. Well, exactly.
And after North Carolina State pounds them into the ground, what do they have to do on Sunday? So, come on out.
Drag races, exactly. Well, just like last year in Seattle and Sonoma, how NHRA Drag Racing just increased the local economy tremendously. Like, we really blew it up in those cities last year. It was incredible, us and Taylor Swift. We will do the same for Phoenix as NHRA comes to town. NHRA bringing our giant hammer of economic might along with the NCAA Final Four.
Good afternoon.
There it is.
Well, I'm looking forward to it, Joe. So, anyway, I think we're going to have a good weather weekend. It looks like, at least the long-term forecast looks like Mother Nature is not going to mess with us too much. So keep your fingers crossed, because as has been the case since we started doing this. Give us good weather, and we'll take it from there.
Simple as that. Thank you, Alan. Appreciate it.
All right, Joe. See you.
The voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhart, joins us now each week, 1:00 on Tuesdays. Hit subscribe, click the bell, never miss a show. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud. Those of you who have never checked out the show, we have first-time listeners and watchers every single show. We invite you back to check out the interviews on WFO Radio and be a part of this. As you can tell, it's a community. We roll through, we take the good and the bad, and there's going to be great stories. There's going to be weird stories all season long. And we cheerlead a little bit for the sport of NHRA drag racing, and we want to see this thing grow. And if you love drag racing, this is definitely one of the shows that you have to watch every week. I like to think, right? Yeah. Yes, Jerron, that is exactly right. That's why the hotels are costing a barrel of diamonds. I am super excited. Lonnie, yes, your stuff is going out. No, I did not mail it out, but I'm going there right after the show, Lonnie. Right after the show, I'm going over there. I'm going to drop your stuff in the mail. And everyone is talking about the Patreons, right? Yeah, become a Patreon. You can join the VIP behind-the-scenes secret society, the WFO Patreons, who get to watch the video of the Ignition podcast. They get Monday Motivation. They get a Pro Stock show from a Pro Stock crew chief who reveals all kinds of great secrets about what's going on behind the scenes. It's really good stuff. And for what? A monthly fee that you choose. And there are multiple tiers, and some have chosen like really high tiers, and some have chosen whatever they can afford. But become a member of WFO Radio and get the VIP Secret Society member benefits by becoming a Patreon. Patreon.com/WFO Radio. Put your comments in the comment section, guys. What did Tony Schumacher have to say that intrigued you? What do you think about a 3 qualifying session all in one day race later on this year? What do you think about that? Are you in the Drag Race Bracket Bonanza WFO Radio League? If not, I have posted the code in the chat section and on the screen several times. Those of you who are audio only, I will read that code for you one more time momentarily. But in the meantime, while you're posting your comments, I want to tell you a couple things. One, the WFO app, which has been in existence for 15 years, was the first drag racing media app in existence on any app store. It was an amazing milestone, but we are sunsetting it. It's shutting down. So you'll be asked to resubscribe to one of the podcast feeds, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, Amazon, wherever you get your podcasts. We're on Google, although that one doesn't seem as quite as reliable. Just saying. You can always go to WFOradio.com and just click RSS, but I would subscribe to Spotify or SoundCloud, one or the other, because SoundCloud is where we post our audio, and the app is just so tremendous. It works so great. YouTube is a great place to watch the show. If you're going to watch the show, some people watch through Facebook and some people watch through our Facebook group, but YouTube, subscribe, click the bell, never miss a show. And with those 2 subscriptions, you can watch and listen to every single show, never miss one, and be a part of the WFO community. If you want to get those notifications that I send out all the time, like WFO merch is on sale, or we did something new, or hey, a WFO meetup is going on in the pits, come meet us by the Mission Foods display, something like that. Come meet up at Hartford's trailer for a Total Seal Tech Talk, something like that. Follow me, WFO Joe or WFO Radio on X, because that is the best and easiest way for me to send out mass communications to our followers. And instead of getting push notifications for the app, you will get it on X. And it is as simple as that. We appreciate you doing that. And of course, our great sponsors, people like Rodax, 817-924-6821. You like coffee? You like really good coffee? This is your guy. Plus hot sauce, spice rub, recipes, tools, tips, information, grills. He's down there in Fort Worth, Texas. 817-924-6821. Yes, he operates with a phone call. It's not like you fill out a form on the internet and you never see the guy. No, you get to know the guy and he shares his expertise with you. 817-924-6821, RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com. Our great friends at Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. They took Sean, the what no way guy, and turned him into a licensed drag racer. How cool is that? That is in the archive. You can go back and check out his experience on WFO Radio. Really exciting that Frank Hawley, if you want to get your Super Comp license, last night on Ignition, we had Jolie Stanfield talked about racing Aaron's top dragster. Amazing. But how did she get the foundation to jump from a door slammer into an open cockpit kind of car? And the answer was at Frank Hawley. She got her Super Comp license. And then when she jumped into Aaron's top dragster, she felt totally comfortable. You can do that too. Super Comp, super gas licenses, alcohol funny car. But what I like to mention is the Dragster Adventure, because it is the least expensive option for you to drive a dragster. And that's really all that it's about, getting that dragster engine behind the roll cage kind of experience for a ridiculously low amount of money. They travel around the country. They come to a track near you, frankhawley.com. And then there's the folks at samtech.edu. We did a hidden horsepower recently with Keith Wilson from Wilson Manifolds, who has now got an amazing parts catalog, and you can get the Jason Line blocks in the Wilson Manifolds parts catalog. We'll have to have Keith on to talk a little bit about that. But he brought his new design intake manifold somewhere to test it. Where did he bring it? He brought it to Samtech. And that should tell you a whole lot about what goes on at Samtech. And it's the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. They're training the next wave of machinists. They're educating the next wave of machinists. So if you're thinking, I'd like to get into this field, and if you're one of those people, the field really finds you. There are some people that are cut out for the job, and some people that are not cut out for the job. Like, hosting a podcast. But I don't like public speaking. Well, it might not be for you. Machinists, they know who they are. They took apart mom's toaster to see how it worked. If that's you, samtech.edu. We also want to shout out to the folks at Bernie's Speed Shop. Bernie's, big supporter of WFO Radio. Fog It. This is a spray to protect the inside of your racing engine to prevent your piston rings from looking like that. Look how rusty they are. CWT Industries balance machines, FTI torque converters and transmissions, FTI on so many of the winning cars out there. Just look for those decals. You'll see them all over the winners. Phillips-Connect.com and Total Seal piston rings. That's right, Total Seal. This is a home race for Total Seal. I hear Hartford's got some good things planned, and they are the Total Seal Challenge sponsor of the Congruity HR Pro Mod Series presented by Learn EV+. Be making their big Firebird Motorsports Park debut this weekend. So exciting that Pro Mod will be there, and Total Seal is on board with the event. All right, let's see what everybody's got to say out there. Don't forget some WFO merch, guys. Get your merch. The merch goes on sale all the time. All right. Happy birthday, Joe. Are you talking about me? It's not my birthday. It was like a while ago, but now we're just right in the middle. This guy's out there. Ryan just sent me a pic of Tony's helmet. Oh, man, like Jerron, like a little late. in the going, but you're working on the show, right? You're working on this whole deal. We might as well try to bring it up and see how rapidly we can do it. Let's see. Hi, Joe. Anything new on the new track in South Florida? I'd love an 1/8 mile strip. I would love a 1/4 mile strip. Like my vision for the South Florida drag strip that we may or may not get is NHRA National Event Track is really what it's all about. NHRA National Event Track with an NHRA National Event here in sunny South Florida. I know that seems like a long shot, but I think we would sell the place out. It would be a tremendous event. And we're a market with, 10 million people here. 10 million people in South Florida. So many of them love their cars, love racing cars, love classic cars, all of those things. NHRA should have a presence in South Florida, but have I heard any updates? No, I have not. Here's the helmet. Jerron, this thing's going to be done by the weekend, Jerron? Jerron. All the funny things I'm thinking about telling you on the air to do, none of them are appropriate. I don't know when you're going to sleep, brother. That thing is not, like, what stage of completion is that? Is this helmet really going to be on Tony Schumacher's head this weekend? Jerron, is it going to be on his head this weekend? I have to ship it today. That's not possible. You'll never be able to do it. You'll never be able to do it. Oh, this guy mentions April Fools. I want to take credit. I don't know. Someone mentioned on the Ignition show that they missed NHRA's April Fool's joke that happens every year. And, I don't know what happened to it. It certainly wasn't anything to do with me, but I'm going to take credit because I have been complaining about the April Fool's joke on NHRA.com for the last 15 years. I don't like it. I never liked it. I don't like April Fools. The one thing I always talk about, being positive or negative. One thing I'm negative about is April Fools. I think it's dumb. Just stupid tradition for whatever reason. But years ago, when I was on XM Satellite Radio, and I don't mind telling you, I read a April Fool's story that seemed pretty legit. It seemed like reasonable, right? And I read it and I got angry. And since then, I've been, grinding the axe against the April Fool's story. And you know what? It's gone. I didn't see it. So yeah. How about that? You telling us that you're the reason that there was no April Fool's story? I'm taking credit. Yes. All right, the Drag Race Bracket Bonanza League code. Is everybody ready? The league code is number 4, capital B, number 5, lowercase, CO, capital J, capital D, capital W on dragracebracketbonanza.com. Super excited to get back at it. Let's see. I mentioned that on Ignition last night. No, what do you mean, Lonnie? I'm using your content here. That's what I do. I hear a little content and then I use it later on in the show. All right. I also want to let you know those of you that are watching live, you're watching live right now. You're live. Like if you're in the future, then you'd have to go and find this. But our great friends, Jason and Jason of Life's a Drag, are going to go live at 1:30, which is in just a couple of moments from now. And so if you want to keep the drag racing conversation going and you want to hang out with people because you're cold and alone, they will be up on their channels and they will continue their show. And I think it is great that they do, another show themselves. They're going to preview Arizona. They're going to have their own takes. They're going to be, maybe they'll have a guest. Like, I don't even know. And I'm excited that, the drag racing related media is like standing up and all these different shows which feature different aspects and angles of the sport. So you can find them. Life's a Drag. They've got a YouTube channel. They've got a Twitter account. It's a little bit of a challenge for you to go find them. But if you're watching live, go check out my buddies, Jason and Jason, Galvin and Logan. And who knows what they'll say? Who knows what they'll do? Who knows? Thanks to Tony Schumacher for hanging out, prolonged hangout here on WFO Radio, and Elon Werner, of course, Alan Reinhart. These Tuesday shows are amazing. I don't know what we've got planned for tomorrow, but it will happen at 12 noon Eastern time if it happens. 12 noon Eastern time on Wednesday is kind of our time slot. You'd think I would have prepared ahead a little bit more than this, but nope. The archives are loaded. Of course, we've got great episodes on YouTube and all of our podcast feed. But the Ignition show this week was of particular fun because, a website ranked all the Formula One drivers in groups. And so we kind of brought that conversation from Formula One to drag racing and kicked it around. It was very interesting, and I think you'll enjoy it greatly. You can do that. Good luck to everybody who's still in the NCWA. I'm just watching. I'll be headed to Arizona. Have yourselves a great week. WFO.
Like this show? Want more? Then head to WatchPTTV.com, the new 100% free PowerTube TV streaming network. Home of the best classic and new motorsports racing and build shows on the web.